Good morning. We begin our time together in song with Morning Has Come by Jason Shelton. You can sing along with the lovely sound of all of us singing this song together at a service many weeks ago. Your microphones are muted, so you can sing as energetically as you like. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Gwinnett. My name is Jan Taddeo. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. It is my great joy and a tremendous privilege to serve our faith as the minister of this congregation. It is such a joy to be together with you on this lovely spring morning. Virtual such as it is, it's still very good to be together. We arrive from many places and many life experiences as we gather in this cherished space to recall our true selves, reflect on the meaning of our lives, and explore questions of ultimacy together. If you are here for the first time or the 1,000th time, you are welcome here. If you believe in many gods, a god or goddess, no gods, or you're just not sure, you are welcome here. If you are gay, straight, bisexual, asexual, pansexual, transsexual, cisgender, or still trying to figure that out, you are welcome here. If you're covered in tattoos or you are a blank slate, blank canvas, you are welcome here. If you shout amen after each song or sentence, or if you prefer to sit with us quietly, you are welcome here. If you come here sober or addicted or somewhere in between on your healing path, you are welcome here. If you are grieving or if you are celebrating, you are welcome here. Your whole self, all that you were, all that you are, all that you long to be, is welcome here, and you are just where you should be, in a room full of compassionate, thoughtful Unitarian Universalists, ready to meet you where you are. You are home. If you are a newcomer with us this morning, we welcome you and hope you will indeed find your spiritual home here with us. We are becoming a radically welcoming sanctuary in a green space. We foster spiritual growth as we joyfully nurture connections and community within our walls and beyond. If this is your first time here, I encourage you to join us several times, virtually and in person when we are able to safely gather together again, to experience the full flavor of this congregation and this faith tradition. Come and be curious, courageous, and compassionate with us. And now I invite you to take a deep breath and enter more fully into this precious time we've set aside to be together. Let us breathe for a moment. And now a sound vibrates through us and around us. May we be reminded how deeply, profoundly, and inextricably we are connected with one another, with all humans, all life and beings on this earth, all the stars and all the cosmos. We begin our service with these words on stillness offered by the Reverend Richard S. Gilbert. We stop, we pause, we pay attention, we center ourselves. We free ourselves from the compulsion of projects to finish, work to be done, things to accomplish. We leave ourselves alone for a time. We journey deep down into that quiet center where no voice is heard. We live for a brief time on an island of peace. We apprehend the world from a quiet center. Here is the center of the world. In this instant are centered the whirling orbs, the movement of earth and sky. In this fragile moment of time is the culmination of all that has been and the promise of all that shall be. Here in our grasp in this moment is the center of the world. Do you have your chalices at home ready to light, or a candle nearby you can light with us this morning? We light our chalices with these words by the Reverend Lindsay Bates. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives. I'm very grateful today that Bob Patrick is creating a great deal of the content for this service this morning, and I will be offering 3 poems during the service, and Bob will offer a reflection after each poem. Our first poem is Picnic Lightning by Billy Collins. This poem, a reminder of the preciousness and the uncertainty of life, begins with a quote from Lolita. My very photogenic mother died in a freak accident, picnic, lightning, when I was 3. It is possible to be struck by a meteor or a single-engine plane while reading in a chair at home. Safes drop from rooftops and flatten the odd pedestrian, mostly within the panels of the comics. But still, we know it is possible, as well as the flash of summer lightning, the thermos toppling over, spilling out on the grass. And we know the message can be delivered from within. The heart, no Valentine, decides to quit after lunch, the power shut off like a switch. Or a tiny dark ship is unmoored into the flow of the body's rivers, the brain a monastery, defenseless on the shore. This is what I think about when I shovel compost into a wheelbarrow, and when I fill the long flower boxes, then press into rows the limp roots of red impatience. The instant hand of death, always ready to burst forth from the sleeve of their voluminous cloak. Then the soil is full of marvels. Bits of leaf like flakes off a fresco, red, brown pine needles, and a beetle quick to burrow back under the loam. The wheelbarrow is a wilder blue, the clouds a brighter white, and all I hear is the rasp of the steel edge against a round stone the small plants singing with lifted faces, and the click of the sundial as 1 hour sweeps into the next.
Good morning. It's a joy to share with you today. We've read some stories, haven't we? Maybe, like me, you find at this point, after weeks of sheltering in place, working from home, or being a member of the essential work community, going out to do your work every day while everyone else is sheltering in place, that you're just hearing too many stories, reading too many social networking sites, watching far too much news. Stories of what is happening to other people in other places is scary, and it's depressing, and at times it makes us angry. There are probably many reasons for the range of feelings that move through us on any given day, but for me, part of it is that those stories of other people out there are getting closer to home. I know who the people are in my life who are vulnerable to this virus, and I check on them to make sure that they are safe so far. Then a colleague, a fellow teacher, not just in my school, but in my very own department, emailed us, the rest of us in the department, one day to say that in the process of checking on a student who had gone missing from online work, he discovered why. The student's grandfather had just passed away from COVID-19. 2 days later, another colleague texted me, "My grandmother just died from COVID-19. He was in a nursing facility across the hall from his wife so that he could be near her while she recovered from a stroke." We hear the stories, we read the stories, we receive phone calls and texts, and we know that this virus is killing people out there. And some of it comes close to us too. And we know that this can happen to us too, to our loved ones too. In his poem, Picnic Lightning, Billy Collins is just very stark and unflinching about death. He speaks into the experiences that I think we all have, maybe for most of or all of our lives, that death is a thing, that thing, sad thing, tragic thing, unexpected thing that happens to people out there on TV, in the comic strips. Then we have some moment. It might be planting flowers and shoveling dirt, like Billy Collins says. It might be something else for you, for me. And we know in that moment that death belongs to me, to you, to people and pets that we love too. So while we're being safe, sheltering in place, taking care, staying well, we grieve. Everything is changing every day, even while some things seem to be the same. I find myself latching on to the things that don't change. Millie, our 50-pound puppy, still needs to go outside multiple times every day, still wants to play every day, is at 6 months still teething and chewing on things. Well, on everything. I latch onto the few unchanging things because everything else around me, and let's be honest, inside of me is changing too. People that we've heard about, read stories about, are dying. Dying is coming close, and even while we try to be safe, we're finding ourselves grieving for a life and a world that is suddenly and dramatically changing. We long for how quickly we can get back to normal. But some part inside of us knows that there is no going back to normal. Probably not completely. So what to do? How to be? Well, first, if you can, look outside of a window and catch a glimpse of a tree or a flower or a blade of grass. Be here now in this moment and listen to this next poem from Mary Oliver.
Heavy by Mary Oliver. That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer, and I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found. Then said my friend Daniel, brave even among lions, "It's not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief, it's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it, when you cannot and would not put it down." So I went practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my startled mouth? How I linger to admire the things of this world that are kind and maybe also troubled. Roses in the wind, the sea geese on the steep waves, a love to which there is no reply.
So, what is it that is heavy for you right now, these days? This poem and one more that we will share this morning were both written by Mary Oliver in the period just after the death of her lifelong partner of 40 years, Molly Malone Cook. So it's clear what was heavy for her. I'm willing to venture that each of us gathered here this morning could also fairly quickly tell about what is heavy for us right now, these days. And that's important. It's a necessary part of grief and healing that we name what we are bearing, what is heavy, what is weighing us down. Oliver writes, "Still, I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found." That's her way of describing her grief, what was heavy for her in those days. And she continues, "Then said my friend Daniel, brave even among lions, it's not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief, it's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it, when you cannot and would not put it down. So I went practicing." Have you noticed? It doesn't matter what is heavy for you these days. It does matter that we be able to name it and find some way to carry it until we are ready to put it down. By now, many of us know someone or know someone who has had the virus and perhaps even died from the virus. Most of us are heavy with the fear of either catching it or for someone dear to us who might be vulnerable. Many of us are heavy with jobs that are just gone and income. Many of us who are still working are heavy with how we do what we do and the burdens that come with doing our work in strange and different ways. I continue to be struck as I listen to many of the stories that come from some of those of you who've shared with me the burdens that we bear during this time. At a recent online gathering of one of the groups in our community, we did just exactly this kind of sharing. The range of burdens was wide and moving and painful, but everyone was heavy with something. One of our members, Dimitri, is a veterinarian assistant. He has given me permission to share this part of his story. He told us what it was like requiring pet owners to stay in their cars with their pets in the parking lot of the veterinary clinic and wait for Dimitri to come out to the car, dressed from head to foot in safety clothing, his face almost entirely covered, to retrieve the sick animal, which was often by then, as you can imagine, terrified. Even pet owners who were there with a dying pet had to then say goodbye to their furry family member at the door of their car in a parking lot. That's heavy. Such a heavy thing. But hear the words of the poet again. It's not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. It could be heavy books, heavy bricks, or heavy grief. And grief for whatever loss is shaping itself into your life right now, these days. It's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it when you cannot and would not put it down. So we want to give you all a few minutes. We are going to move you into small groups of 5 or 6 people and give you plenty of time. We invite you to share your names with those who show up in your group, and then name for each other what it is that is heavy for you right now, these days. Tell each other about how you're carrying it, balancing it, embracing it. And listen deeply to one another as a way of support and as a possibility for insight. In a moment, you'll see a prompt on your screen to enter into a breakout group. Click on the prompt. You'll see a notice on the screen when there are 60 seconds left in the group sharing time, and then you'll automatically be returned to the full virtual sanctuary with everyone else. If for any reason you get lost, coming or going, send a message in the chat window and Christiana will assist you. May we hold these stories that we have shared with one another in the sanctuary of our hearts, and may they strengthen our commitment to companion one another.
And now let us respond to these stories by rising and singing I Know I Can by Dennis Hamilton and Jeannie Gagne. Our last poem by Mary Oliver is Thirst. Another morning I wake with thirst for the goodness I do not have. I walk out to the pond, and all the way God has given us such beautiful lessons. Oh Lord, I was never a quick scholar, but sulked and hunched over my books past the hour and the bell. Grant me in your mercy a little more time. Love for the earth and love for you are having such a long conversation in my heart. Who knows what will finally happen or where I will be sent, yet already I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing except the prayers which, with this thirst, I am slowly learning.
When grief and loss first strike, and I mean really finally land in our minds and our hearts, it's deeply isolating. I've watched this with myself. I've observed it with my loved ones, my students, colleagues, and sometimes even strangers give us glimpses into this moment. The reality of the loss and the onset of the grief can leave us feeling like we are utterly alone in the world. And this, despite seeing people all around us, despite cards and texts and phone calls, despite 1,000 love messages on Facebook, despite food and flowers and friendly visits, we feel so cut off and alone for the grief. I think that the grief created by this pandemic, by the social distancing, by the sheltering in place, ultimately does that to us too. It takes longer. Unless you have lost someone to this virus immediately in your life, the grief arrives silently and perhaps without expectation. Grief? Why, the sun is shining and I have shelter and food. What grief? It can arrive for all of us in a variety of approaches: the creeping worry about the future, the constant worry about loved ones, the daily anger and confusion over leaders who seem to be at odds with good reason and the common good. Take your pick. This time, these days, begin to take away from us some inner sense that things are well, that life is predictable, that the structures of life are there to protect us. So that gnawing sense of isolation, of being alone, even some unpleasant sense that something's just not right, we just don't know what to do about it. Call it what it is. It is the grief of what we have and are and likely will lose as we move through this time, these days. Mary Oliver also wrote this last poem, Thirst, after the death of her partner, Molly Malone Cook, and its title became the title of a book of collected poems that she wrote during that time, Thirst. She describes something that I have also observed in myself and in others who grieve. Oh Lord, I was never a quick scholar, but sulked and hunched over my books past the hour and the bell. Grant me in your mercy a little more time. Love for earth and love for you are having such a long conversation in my heart. There begins to be some sort of a conversation in our hearts. Oliver says that her love for the earth and her love for God are having such a long conversation in her heart. She says it so matter-of-factly, which is sort of the way she writes about amazing things. It's easy to miss. After grief works its power over us and leads us to believe that we are all alone in the world, she wants us to know that this conversation can begin within us. Even now, at this time, in these days, you and I can begin to listen for these conversations, long conversations in our hearts. I don't know exactly what those long conversations will be. I don't know what they will be between. Maybe your sense of family and the seed of hope will set up a long conversation in your heart. Maybe loving and living will set up a long conversation in your heart. Maybe some new insight and some old insight will set up a long conversation in your heart. I don't know what it will be. The poet gives us her experience after such a great loss and grief in her life. I believe good poets, and secretly, I hold Mary Oliver to be perhaps the best poet I know, to have special powers. Powers like what we would call prophecy, the power to cast a spell, the power of prayer, the power of a seer who can look into me and look into you and into her own experience and speak a word of truth that stands for a time. This is our time. It's scary and uncertain, and it brings grief to the doors of our hearts. So know this, we are not left alone in our grief. There comes also a great, long conversation made for our hearts. Listen for it and allow it to bring you through this time and these days. The thirst for that conversation and what it brings can indeed bring us through, even liberate us from the grief of this time and these days. And when that happens, I think we may well become a whole community of poets, of seers, of spell workers who have stories to tell, words of wisdom to share, and a kind of human magic that heals our wounds.
On October 16th, 2016, we shared in a ritual that feels right to offer again today in this service about liberating grief. For I know that many of you are holding grief for the loss of beloveds that have died for all kinds of reasons that people die, or other griefs that we are experiencing in our lives. This ritual has a musical response from the choir and the congregation, so we will play the recording of the ritual as I light the candles here in our sanctuary. You will hear our guest choir director on that Sunday, Amber Fettner, sing the response to Teach Us the Words, and feel free to sing along with the response at home. I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and intention as we light a candle for each of the 11 companioning tenets developed by Dr. Alan Wolfett, founder of the Center for Loss and Life Transition. With each tenet, I invite you to bring to mind someone in your life in need of your companioning, or a need for companioning that you hold. And after each candle, the choir and the congregation will respond. Great Spirit of life and love, known to us by many names, we walk together in the way of compassion, holding one another with loving kindness as we create our house of healing, our house of hope, our house of peace. May these tenets guide us on our journey towards a more connected and compassionate world. Companioning is about being present to another person's pain. It is not about taking away or relieving the pain. Walking with you is my prayer. Companioning is about going to the wilderness of the soul with another human being. It is not about thinking you are responsible for finding the way out. Companioning is about honoring the spirit. It is not about focusing on the intellect. Companioning is about listening with the heart. It is not about analyzing with the head. Companioning is about bearing witness to the struggles of others. It is not about judging or directing those struggles. Companioning is about walking alongside. It is not about leading or being led. Companioning is about discovering the gifts of sacred silence. It is not about filling every painful moment with talk. Companioning is about being still. It is not about frantic movement forward. Walking with you, walking with you is my prayer. Companioning is about respecting disorder and confusion. It is not about imposing order and logic. Companioning is about learning from others. It is not about teaching them. Companioning is about curiosity. It is not about expertise. We light one more candle for those who have no one companioning them during difficult times, and for the joys and the sorrows that we each hold in the silent sanctuary of the heart. Amen. Shalom and blessed be. Walking with you, walking with you is my prayer. Our congregation is committed to creating a more compassionate world. To this end, each quarter we split our plate collection with an organization selected by our Give Away the Plate committee. Our second quarter plate recipient is Rainbow Village, located in Duluth. Rainbow Village transforms the lives of homeless families with children by providing a stable community and services that instill initiative, self-development, and accountability for future generations. They provide self-sufficiency skills, adult life skills, child and youth programs, mental health services, early childhood development, and an alumni program. Our plate contributions also support the shared ministry of this congregation, so I ask that you please give generously to support the work of this important ministry in our wider community, as well as the vision and mission of our congregation. As we listen to a recording of our pianist Brian Bishop playing Children's Skating by Vladimir Rebikov, you will see on the screen ways to contribute to our offering via PayPal, Venmo, or by mailing a check payable to UUCG to the address shown. If you are worshiping with us for the first time today, your presence here with us is a great gift to this congregation, and you may choose to let the plate pass. The offering will now be most gratefully received. May the generous gifts received today move us towards creating a more compassionate and connected world. I offer my gratitude to Bob Patrick as our service leader today, gratitude to Christiana McQuain, our coordinator of family ministries, for her work in managing the Zoom room, and gratitude for Russ Taddeo running video and sound, and grateful to all of you for being here with us today. And now is the time for our call to connection, for it is important that we continue to connect between Sundays. If you are new to our congregation, I encourage you to text the word welcoming to the number on the screen, 678-931-8228, so that you can receive a few texts and emails. We will not overwhelm you or inundate you about ways to connect with others and learn more about our congregation. There are some ways to be of service. If you are one who likes to sew and you want to make masks, that would be very helpful. We are continuing to receive requests for masks from the area Atlanta hospitals. We have delivered over 25,000 masks so far, with well over 700 made by members of this congregation, and another 13,000 have been requested. You can visit Sewing Masks for Area Hospitals on Facebook, or go to the Joanne Fabrics website, or just search online. There are so many resources now for masks to be sewn. And we also need, people to do other things related to delivering and collecting and so forth. So look online for ways to help with that. UUCG is serving as one of the drop-off locations. And if you have questions about this, you can contact Lorena Griffin or Peggy Averett. And I thank their leadership in managing this project in this vital ministry. Thank you. A reminder that our chat room is still open every Wednesday morning from 10 to noon. Come on in and just casual chat, whatever's on your mind or heart. We're there to talk. Sometimes it goes deep, sometimes it stays, with fun and laughter. So it's different every week. Just come and join us. We also offer an open chat room on Saturdays from 12 to 3. Come and be there with others and connect. If you're feeling at all like you just need to see and hear another person, another voice, come on in. Our Yarns from the Heart group is gathering online on the first and third Wednesdays from 10 to noon. And the next gatherings are May 6th and May 20th. So you can find the links for that on the calendar. If you're one who does crocheting or knitting, come and join that group and hang out together. We are still offering family faith and fun kits. If you have children at home, especially younger children, and you want some activities to keep them engaged with Unitarian Universalist values, please send a text to that number, text family to that number, and we will contact you to arrange delivery of a family faith and fun kit. Also, the early elementary families are connecting now on Thursdays from 4 to 5. That's a change. If you've been coming at 11 in the morning, they are now there at 4 p.m. So come on Thursdays from 4 to 5 to have the kids play virtual games. It's really a lot of fun. And then the virtual Easter egg hunt is still happening. It's not too late to go and collect Easter eggs. If you go to our website and find the Easter egg and click on it, it will take you to another Unitarian Universalist congregation website, and that egg will take you to another one and another one, and I think there's over 80 congregations that are connected by these eggs. So it's kind of a fun way to go and explore other congregations' websites. Please check the calendar at uucg.org for other events that are happening. We have all kinds of ways that we're connecting and lots of opportunities. So take a look at what's there and just join us if you want to. Next Sunday, our 10 a.m. program, it will be a small group conversation on our May theme, which is thresholds. That will be facilitated by someone designated by the Faith Development Team. So please come at 10 o'clock for a good small group discussion about thresholds. We are offering today, the Green Team is presenting The Human Element, a movie developed by environmental photographer James Baylog from Chasing Ice. He captures the lives of everyday Americans on the front lines of climate change. So you may have already watched it during the week. The link is on our website. You can also just watch together at 12:30 today, or if you've already seen it, join the discussion at 2 o'clock. And that information to join that is on our website. If you need coffee, chocolate, cocoa, text equal to our text number, and we will contact you to make sure you get those delivered to you as soon as possible. So it's still available to you. Our annual auction, Blue Boat Home Theme Auction, is postponed, but we are continuing to gather donations, and we're continuing to auction items periodically after the services. So next Sunday, we have a real treat for you. You've loved it in the sanctuary, now you can love it in your home. This dove painting by member Katrina Yurko will be up for auction directly following the service next Sunday, May 3rd. It is gallery wrapped and measures 22 by 30. All proceeds benefit UU Congregation of Gwinnett. The minimum bid will be $175. So start planning your bid for next Sunday. And I continue to remind you that our pastoral care team is available 24/7 if you need to talk with someone who is trained to listen well. And we will be sending out new Care Circle phone trees and instructions this week. They will come in the mail, so that we make sure everyone gets it, and that you can put the list on your refrigerator or bulletin board or somewhere at home, so that if we need to contact everyone quickly, you'll be ready to participate in our phone tree. And now, please rise in spirit as we say together the words we say as we extinguish our chalice, followed by our closing song, 1057, Go Lift It Up, by Mortimer B. Barron. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. beloved, and now our service to one another and the wider world begins. Please take good care this week. I urge you to continue physical distancing and staying at home as much as possible. You are each so precious and so precious to me.